Everyone, welcome to the final in our series of CBAS home and community-based settings discussions and stakeholder process. This is Bobby Wunsch from Pacific Health Consulting Group, and we're here at the California Department of Aging for this webinar along with DHCS. Today we're going to cover a number of topics that relate to the Home and Community-Based Settings Transition Plan focused on the CBAS program. We're going to review the feedback that we received since the May 19th meeting, the last meeting of this group, and review the revisions to the transition plan that have been made based on the feedback that's been received. And at the end of the meeting, we'll also talk about the CBAS work groups on the IPC revision and quality that will begin very soon. So we anticipate ending by 4 o'clock today, and of course we'll follow up this meeting with several other steps that we'll talk about as we get to the end of the session. So as everybody remembers from our previous meetings, the purpose of this CBAS stakeholder process is to develop a transition plan for bringing CBAS centers into compliance with the requirements of the Home and Community-Based Settings Rule as specified in the California's 1115 waiver, the Bridge to Reform, special terms and conditions. As you all remember, the Home and Community-Based Settings Rule, 42 CFR 441.301, is focused on the needs of individuals indicated in their person-centered plan, requiring that settings are integrated and support full access to the community, are selected by individuals from a number of setting options, ensure individual rights, and optimize autonomy and independence in making life choices for the individual. So this is the foundation of the work that we are focused on. And in addition, the rule requires that settings facilitate choices regarding services and who provides them, provides options for individuals to control their schedules, and of course are physically accessible. So, as I said earlier, we're going to review the comments that were received on the draft CBAS Home and Community-Based Settings Plan and review how those comments were integrated into the plan. We're going to review the plan as it now has been incorporated into the state transition plan, and then we're going to talk about next steps in this process and in the implementation of the plan. So again, just as a reminder, we've had a number of meetings. Today's our 5th meeting in this series. We started almost 6 months ago in February with our first kickoff meeting. We had planned development meetings in March and April. On May 19th, the draft transition plan for CBAS was released, and a 30-day comment period began and ended on June 22nd. And it's those comments that we're going to be talking about today. And on July 2nd, the state of California released the California statewide transition plan, which included the CBAS component of the plan. And that 30-day comment period began on July 2nd and ends July 31st. So after today's webinar, there's still time for you to make comments about the CBAS components of the state transition plan until July 31st. Today's July 8th, and that's our meeting today. And then on August 14th, the state of California will submit the California statewide transition plan to CMS. If you have a good memory, you'll remember that when we started this process, we anticipated that the statewide plan would be submitted to CMS on September 1st. CMS has requested of the state that it submit the statewide plan earlier. So that will happen on August 14th. Okay, we're going to start with a review of our last meeting, meeting number 4, that was held on May 19th. Many of you participated in that. And the CBAS stakeholder process, there will be the meeting summary of the May meeting. There will also be our regular stakeholder law that we compile after every meeting in this process that incorporates stakeholder feedback. And then all of the documents and work tools that are part of the stakeholder process are all on the CBAS Home Community Settings section of the CBA website. For those of you that are I see we're having some feedback here. These are the 3 components of the review of the last meeting. Okay, well, I think we're going to just keep moving on, unless anyone from CDA or DHCS has any comments at this point. So here we are. We're going to start now with a review of the statewide transition plan. We're going to ask DHCS to talk a little bit about the activities that the California Health and Human Services Agency has been involved in with DHCS and CDA on preparing the home and community-based settings statewide transition plan, of which the CBAS section is a portion. So I'm going to ask Michael Liu. Oh, Rebecca. Rebecca Shoup is on the line from the Department of Health Care Services. I'm going to ask Rebecca to review and give us an update on the California Home and Community-Based Settings statewide transition plan. Rebecca, are you there? Rebecca? Okay, Michael, can you review these items?
Sure.
So for everyone, you can see the slide. We have 2 slides from DHCS, and Michael Liu from the Department of Healthcare Services is going to review this information for you, and he can answer questions if anyone has them after he's done.
Good afternoon, everybody. We posted for public comment for July 2nd to the 30th of 2015, and on the screen you can see the link that the draft statewide transition plan is located.
Hmm?
Yeah.
13.
So this is where it's currently located for those that have not seen it. Once you click on the link from this presentation, you can get to the actual statewide transition plan as well. And it's going to be open for public comment until the end of this month. And we're currently, actually, it closed June 30th, and we are compiling the notes on it right now and revising the tools as we're moving forward with it. The second item that was on the list was the provider survey tools and the on-site assessment tools. And it was posted for public comment through June 30th, and on that one we're currently looking at it and revising the tools accordingly.
I think Rebecca Shoup has joined us from DHCS. Rebecca, feel free to jump in at any time.
Hi, everyone. I apologize. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Michael's just shown everyone the draft California statewide transition plan that's posted on the website and has told everyone that Comments are being taken through July 31st. And he's also mentioned that the provider self-survey tools and the on-site assessment tools were posted for public comment through the end of June, and that you all are revising those tools now.
Yes, that is correct. So as a part of our resubmission of the statewide transition plan to CMS, there were several gaps in our initial submission, which we had to provide and incorporate by August 14th of 2015. And so some of those things were the provider self-survey tool and the on-site assessment tool having public comment and incorporating the public comment, summarizing public comment, as well as explanations of why public comment may not have been incorporated into any revisions on the tools. We also had to include a systemic assessment in the new version of the statewide transition plan, which you are looking at on the DHCS website that is now open for public comment period. And the systemic assessment
Rebecca, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you speak directly into the phone? It's a little hard to hear you, and maybe just speak up a little bit.
Yeah, I took myself off of speaker, so is this a little bit better?
Now it is. Just speak a little, project a little bit.
Okay. So we have included a systemic assessment in the statewide transition plan, which is available for public comment from July 2nd through July 31st. A systemic assessment is looking at the California regulations, statutes, and waiver or state plan amendment language and doing desk reviews or comparisons to the federal final rules, specifically the 10 characteristics for residential and non-residential settings, and whether our authoritative language, our regulating language, conflicts with the federal final rule, complies with the federal final rule, or is silent. And so you will be seeing that systemic assessment in the statewide transition plan, the version that is posted for public comment. And then we also have some other minimal changes to, or additions, I should say, in the statewide transition plan, which include addressing the 1915K and some other gaps that were missing from the first submission of the statewide transition plan. So when we resubmit the statewide transition plan, we'll also include the provider self-survey tool and the initial on-site assessment tools that do have public comment incorporated into them, as well as public comment that we received during this period of the month of July on the statewide transition plan, incorporating that public comment into the final statewide transition plan. What slide are we on? I apologize.
We're on slide 12.
Okay, slide 12. So to talk a little bit about the provider self-survey and the on-site assessment tools, we did receive some comments that were very specific to HCB, a certain or particular HCBS program. So as you are hopefully aware, there are about 11 HCBS programs all affected by this final rule. And so from the state's perspective, our approach to designing the initial tools that you saw posted on the website back in June for public comment period was developed as core tools. So there's a universal tool that can be used with the core questions that can be assessed or asked across all HCBS programs. And then once we finalize the core tool, each individual HCBS program can take the core tool back and discuss with their own stakeholder population and discuss maybe tweaking the terminology of some of the questions so it applies to their program, in addition to adding more questions that are specific to their program. So some of the public comment that we received was very specific to the program, and those questions we will be sharing with the State Department that operates and administers the program, but we are not going to be incorporating program-specific questions because right now we're developing a core tool that can be used across all of the HCBS programs at a minimum, and then those HCBS programs can add additional questions to drill down deeper and do an in-depth analysis or comparison of compliance for their individual programs. And then we also have our July 13th public conference call where, again, we will restate everything that we said on this call, but go into a little bit more detail. At this call, we'll actually have what public input we've incorporated into the provider self-survey and on-site assessment tools. We'll also have a clear summary of changes from the last statewide transition plan version when we submitted to CMS the first time to the version you're now viewing on the DHCS website, as well as reiterate the public comment period for the STP, and then open it up to question and comments over the phone. So we're really looking forward to that public meeting on July 13th, and it's a conference call, and it's not an in-person, as we want as many people to participate as possible on the call. And you can find more information about that stakeholder call on the DHCS calendar of events.
Great. Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
We will continue because we really want to focus today on the CBAS section of the transition plan. And you'll get a chance on July 13th to discuss with DHCS the statewide transition plan in total, as well as the provider self-survey and on-site assessment tools. So now we're going to really focus in on the comments that we've received to date about the CBAS transition plan and what actions have been taken related to them. So if you want to go to this link on the CDA CBAS website, we will look at who received comments from and kind of the tenor of the comments. So as you can see on this slide that was just up, here we go. We received comments from one individual since the CBAS transition plan was released in May, and from 7 organizations. And you can see the organizations listed. Unfortunately, in error, we left Kaiser Permanente off this list. Their comments have been included in the comment section, and their name will be added on this list. But the organizations that we heard from, very in-depth feedback from the Alzheimer's Association, AARP, California Association of Adult Day Services, or CADS, Disability Rights California, Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund, otherwise known as DREDF, Justice and Aging, and Well and Fit Adult Day Health Care Center, as well as Kaiser Permanente. And the comments were put into a set of categories so that they could be organized and reviewed in reference to the statewide plan. And so the comments were around the appeals process, the assessment of the statutes, the background and introductory section, compliance monitoring, education and outreach. There were some general comments. There were comments on person-centered planning. And what we're going to do now is we're going to review the revised plan that's included in the statewide transition plan and show you how all of these comments were reflected and incorporated into the statewide transition plan as we go through this. So again, a big thank you, first of all, to everyone who sent in very thoughtful comments. And I think you'll be pleased to see how these comments were incorporated into the statewide plan. So now we're going to, well, you see here, this is an example of the log that's on the website. And you can see that everyone's comments have been categorized, identified verbatim from the letters and emails that you sent in, identified which organization or individual made the comments, and then now once we go, we'll look through this, and then we'll look at the plan itself, and we'll show you where these comments have been incorporated. So again, I just want to remind everybody, it's still not too late to make comments, because the statewide transition plan comment period is open until July 31st. And of course, the CBAS section is included as part of that. So Denise, before we go to the actual plan, which the comments have been incorporated into, anything more you'd like to say about the log and the feedback that we got from the 7 organizations and 1 individual?
Sure, a couple quick comments. Denise Peach with the CBAS branch here at CDA. Well, first, I guess I would say thank you to everybody who provided comments. We got some pretty meaty comments from people, and we spent a considerable amount of time and effort working those comments, some of it specific language that was submitted, and some general comments that we inserted into the plan. So happy to get all that feedback and all the participation all along. I'm happy to say that where you see in that 1, 2, 3, the 4th column there, where it says CDA/DHCS comments and actions taken, we captured whether the comment that was made was incorporated and where it was incorporated, and I'm happy to say that revisions made is the predominant message you'll see in that column. So we did take the vast majority of the comments. There were only, I believe, 3 comments that we didn't incorporate directly, and I think that there was a good rationale for not doing that. And as we walk through the plan, I'll point out where that was. But if you review the log and you're looking specifically at comments that were made by yourself or others, you can see that we did manage to incorporate the vast majority of what was submitted. So happy to have had the comments and to be able to report that we got almost all of it covered. So that's about all I really wanted to say here. I think I can point it out as we go through the document itself. The log is just a little bit too hard to read here. So, and apologies to Kaiser Permanente for having dropped them off the list. But they are in the organization there to the right in the detail.
Right. Kaiser's comments are included in the log and in the
document
we're going to look at in the document. So now we're going to go to the document, and the document that we're going to show you, this is the CBAS section of the statewide transition plan, and we're actually going to scroll through this page by page and show you 2 sets of highlighted comments. The light blue comments that you'll see are changes, some minor, some more important, that the departments made to the plan, and the yellow highlights that we'll see as we go through this represent feedback that we received from all of those stakeholder comments that were incorporated into the plan. So we're actually going to just walk through them very quickly so that you'll see how the plan has changed since we reviewed it in May, based on your comments and another review by CDA and DHCS. So Denise, would you like to walk us through?
You bet. So we can just stay at the top for just a moment. First of all, we won't keep hopping back and forth and making people dizzy, but the link to where this plan is posted on the website is in the slide, so you can click on that link and get there to see this document. You can also get there through the DHCS website, because this is an attachment now to the statewide plan. So table of contents is highlighted. We didn't highlight that entire thing, but the entire thing is new. We felt that there was a need to make the document a little bit more user-friendly by putting the major sections and their page numbers and providing more subheadings, so that, again, so the document has just a little bit easier feel to it when you're using it. So this entire section in the table of contents is brand new. So we'll scroll down through that, and then again, I think that the appendices, we have an additional several new appendices, and we're not going to review these today, but to just share with you that when we shared the plan in its draft, in the first draft in May, we had a couple of appendixes, appendices, or maybe 3, where we had the milestones and timeline, and we had some information about our assessment of the laws and regulations. Now we have included, to make this document more massive than it was before, we have all of the efforts that we made to announce meetings, all of our public comments, all the informational materials that we made available, and the public comment logs throughout the stakeholder meetings, and the comments that we received during the 30-day comment period. So all of that is now attached. So when you access the plan itself is I think 26 pages long, and then the appendices all added on, and the document comes out to 190 or so pages. So there's lots and lots of attachments that again demonstrate to everyone, the stakeholders, and to CMS what this process has been about. So if we scroll down, starting at the top of the document, again, a lot of blue here. These are technical changes, title changes, things that we felt after reviewing the document, after seeing comments, things that we might have missed the first go around. We took the liberty of adding in. So we added in the final deadline, March 17, 2019, that the feds have set for compliance for all of our centers, for all of the home and community-based settings. Being in compliance with these new rules, we felt like that needed to be stated in the first paragraph, and we hadn't done that before. We also added in this sort of explanatory note here in this first introduction. We collapsed the introduction and background section, by the way, so it's just one section of the introduction. So again, this is all just sort of introductory comments that we felt we didn't make the first time that we needed to make. You scroll down. And in this first section, again, this is still very introductory kinds of statements that we're making here, and we wanted to emphasize that the conversation with CVAS stakeholders about the directives that CMS has given us with regards to developing the plan and the person-centered planning, that it's already underway, and that the person-centered planning piece is in section 4, and that's how we're going to comply with that rule that we signed up above. So again, this is just all sort of introductory comments. The first yellow comments you see there, we incorporated based on, again, as Bobby indicated, comments that we got from our stakeholders. CVAS was created under federal court settlement. This was a point that we didn't make in our overview of the program, and our stakeholders felt that was an important point to make, so we added that in there. We also, and the piece about homestead compliance for ensuring the participants are able to remain in the community. So these were important sort of, again, introductory kinds of comments. Someone shared with us that we hadn't put in that this was services to persons age 18 and older, so we wanted to make sure that this was clear that this is a benefit for adults. And then how we missed it, I'm not sure, but we never put the eligibility criteria for the program. And so somebody pointed that out to us, so we put the eligibility criteria as generally stated in the 1115 waiver, that specific medical necessity and eligibility criteria must be met, and then certain categories that individuals need to meet in order to be eligible. So we added that in as well. Scrolling down. We had some comments regarding the need to emphasize the role of managed care plans. Some folks felt that we didn't stress that enough. So the collaborative role that the managed care plans play with the CVAS providers, with other community providers, with IHSS. So we strengthened some of our language around the managed care plans and their role, and we did that in several places. The next yellow section there, where it starts to be reimbursed for services, again, someone had indicated that we needed to stress the plan role, and then we needed to put a little bit more information in about how the plans authorize the services and the days per week based on assessed needs and medical necessity. Some more background about the program, that it's for services are reimbursed for a minimum of 4 hours of therapeutic services per day, and that most of the programs run Monday through Friday. As a point of clarification, 9 to 3 are usually the range of hours, and then also to stress that there is nothing in the licensing regulations that restricts centers from operating more than that 5 days per week. That's the standard. So we wanted to clarify that point because one of our stakeholders raised that. Scrolling down. This is more on the strengthening of the engagement between CVAS centers and the managed care plans, what kinds of collaboration go on there, and some specific language around the participants, their family caregivers, other community providers, and how the plans share the responsibility with the CVAS centers in coordinating service delivery. And then the state provides the oversight to the providers regarding their the quality of care that's delivered in the CVAS setting. So we strengthened that language as well. We can scroll down a little bit. That's what those references are there, as reflected in STC 100. That's in the 1115 waiver, the special terms and conditions, and that's the special terms and conditions 100 that refers to CVAS quality assurance and improvement strategy, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later when we talk about work groups. But that oversight piece that CDA takes responsibility for overseeing the centers and their compliance with all the requirements for the program, including the home and community-based settings requirements, and the DHCS oversees the managed care plans for their compliance and how they meet these requirements. Scrolling down, these are just minor changes in the blue. I won't go over each of these. We have some language there around the informed choice that beneficiaries make to participate in the program, and it is a voluntary decision to participate. We felt that, again, these things needed to be strengthened in our language, and that they have choice from various other services and supports. So that was language that we added in. The next yellow item there under the terms of their contract with the HCS, managed care plans are responsible for informing members. So again, to the role of the managed care plans in their role around talking to their members, the Medi-Cal beneficiaries, about their choices for community-based service options, and then emphasizing the participation agreement that participants signed to participate in CVAS itself. Again, our attempt to, based on stakeholder comments, strengthen language around the roles that everyone shares in ensuring that participants have their choices honored. These are mostly just very small changes in blue there. And then some comments here that we received from, I believe we received these from CADS, that it was important that we stress in these introductory pages that the vast majority of CVAS centers are located in highly visible leased spaces in their communities, that none of the centers in California are located within a hospital or a nursing facility, and that some of our centers are affiliated with hospitals or nursing facilities or assisted living companies, but are located on separate grounds and in an accessible and visible community setting. So to the point that I think that is central to this HCB discussion, that the CVAS centers should not be considered de facto institutional settings. And I would add that was language I think that we took directly from the comments, and that we incorporated throughout the plan language strengthening our role at the department in overseeing compliance, that it's, while it's not a de facto institutional setting, our oversight responsibilities are to ensure that the centers have the characteristics of home and community-based settings and don't have the characteristics of institutional settings. So while this is a true statement and we inserted it, we also inserted language around our responsibilities for ensuring that we monitor the centers to ensure that they have that non-institutional composition. Scrolling down, we come back up just for a second. We clarified secure perimeters and delayed egress. Previously, we had shortcut the language and referred to secure perimeters, but secure perimeters and delayed egress are different technologies. We received several comments and long comments, lengthy comments, very intelligent comments on this subject, and so we tried to insert as much as we could to clarify secure perimeters and delayed egress as they're used in CVAS centers, and so we've clarified a few terminology things here up front, and then additionally the CVAS center has an important role to play, person-centered planning. So coming back to the discussion about person-centered planning to ensure that the CVAS centers are integrated in the community and that they are in compliance with the federal regulations, and that standard of ensuring that individuals their choices are honored and that they're integrated in the community, even when there is a need for securing perimeters and delaying egress to protect safety. And so we put a lot of new comments in here about that. Scrolling down, in yellow there, we had a comment regarding the 5-day program. This was a comment that we had inserted directly from our stakeholder meeting, so this was something submitted previously during our discussions to develop the plan, and someone had questions regarding this, that it's not just a 5-day program. CVS services can be tailored to meet individual needs. We didn't change this because this was something that somebody had shared with us earlier in the discussion. We clarified the issue elsewhere around 5 days a week. I think the important message that this individual was trying to convey originally, however, was that that the CVAS program plays a role beyond the 4 walls of the center, beyond the 5-day a week or 4-day a week or 6-day a week program, whatever it is, that the role extends beyond that, and that's part of the model, which was the original idea, I think, in this bullet, which we wanted to capture. But again, we clarified the issue of Monday through Friday as the standard sort of program elsewhere in our comments. And this last piece right here, again, emphasizing the state role in oversight, in assessing each of the centers to ensure that that the centers are in compliance. So the whole introductory section talks about the model and how it is to be, how it is in statute, how the model is designed, but ultimately we needed to emphasize that it's incumbent upon the state through its monitoring and oversight to ensure that that the centers meet these new standards. So we emphasize that in several places. You scroll down. We've got a whole page there with no comments. Right. And that's just an addition of a new appendix that we referenced there, that one in blue. Several pages with no comments. We updated this table right here that has all of the efforts that we have made thus far to disseminate informational materials and run public comment processes and everything. And there's a huge appendix that's associated with the plan now that shows all of this documentation. So this is a slightly updated table to reflect all of the communications. So coming to the training and education section, well, we changed the title, training and education. We had a number of comments on the need for, people stating the need for additional education efforts and broader educational efforts. So more training, more activities around educating providers, families, caregivers, participants, managed care plans, and the larger public. I think there's pretty much a desire, an endless desire to see us do training and provide education. So, so we're going to do what we can to efficiently develop training and outreach materials that can be available to the broader community and provide training that can be replicated, training that can be on our website and used by any number of entities to continue to get the word out about the HCB settings, rules, and what they mean to people. So we've done our best to step up our commitments and to increase the narrative here in this section. Scrolling down, I think we wanted to emphasize here that we have already made efforts, and so efforts that we're making. We wanted to make sure that we noted here that CDA has incorporated already into its on-site monitoring surveys a review of center postings to ensure that CVAS providers have made their outreach flyers and fact sheets that we developed available for viewing by participants and caregivers. So when we walk through the door of any CVAS center, we're checking the postings to make sure that they've got information up on the walls. We're talking to the CVAS center staff and participants when we're on site. So these are efforts that are already underway, and more to come as we work with stakeholders to revise our existing monitoring tools. So that's highlighted there. And again, that's the result of comments from stakeholders saying that it's great that the program has this fantastic design and it's been designed like this since the late 70s, but the proof is in the pudding. It's going to be in our monitoring of the centers to ensure that they're actually meeting these requirements. So we stress that point over and over again. The blue there, this is stressing that our stakeholder education and outreach activities will continue till March 2019 and probably beyond. So we wanted to make sure that that was stressed here as well. Scrolling down into the table, again, more emphasis that the training and education efforts are ongoing and that they're broader than we had initially stated them to include the importance of educating participants and family caregivers, as well as the broader stakeholder and community.
Denise, there's a question.
Great question. Great.
This question is from Diane Puckett. She's asking if you're saying it is now a requirement to provide the comment information to participants.
So, Diane, thanks for the question. We had sent out an all-center letter to all of our CBAS centers. Actually, we've sent out a couple of them with notice about public comment periods, and then attached a flyer and fact sheet that provided information about home and community-based settings. So we asked that that the CBAS centers post those documents. So the public comment period has now ended. However, the flyer, the fact sheet that we provided is still relevant, and it provides background information on the plan and the planning process. So we're still technically in the comment period because we're out now again for review with the statewide plan. But in the meanwhile, making available to folks by posting adjacent to your license or somewhere otherwise visible on your walls, posting the fact sheet is a step we're asking the CBAS providers to take. And we will be developing more information materials as we go along, and we'll ask the CBAS centers to make those available to participants. So yes, that's the long answer. We're asking you to do that for now. Any other questions, Lola? No. Okay, so moving into section 2, this is the assessment of statutes, regulations, the program requirements. As you heard Rebecca mentioning earlier when she was talking about the statewide plan, this is one of the requirements that CMS has put in place on all of the states. We need to assess the program rules and ensure that they adequately address the HCB requirements, and so that includes that they are not in conflict with and not partially in conflict with or are silent. And so we wanted to strengthen our language there based on some stakeholder input in yellow. If you scroll down, where we have, we emphasized that, that the review of the requirements included looking to see whether there was silence on a particular requirement or whether there was conflict or whether things aligned. And so, so we strengthened that language, and we also added some clarifying language there that what we mean to say after this initial and comprehensive review that we have done, that that we believe that there's really probably minimal work to do in clarifying or reinforcing existing CBAS statutes, regulations, etc. And if there is something that extends beyond issuing of all center letters to clarify or provide guidance, Medi-Cal provider bulletins, or manual updates, if there's something beyond that, as in statutory or regulatory change, that we will propose that prior to the March 2019 deadline. And so I got a little ahead of myself there. That's down below, but right here's more secured perimeters and delayed egress discussion. Again, we received some pretty extensive comments from the Alzheimer's Association. If you scroll down a little bit more, you can see some of their direct feedback, and this is their language. We put it in this section because we think that this is what is built into the program structure around the program rules, and so so we inserted the comments here. I think they're worth reading. The Alzheimer's Association and other advocates have made it clear in their public comments that the availability of CBAS with delayed egress is essential for individuals at risk of wandering who would otherwise not have community-based option and would be required for safety or security reasons to be placed in a nursing facility. Statistics indicate that 60% of persons with Alzheimer's disease will wander at some point. Often a wandering or low-fit incident is a precursor to CVAS, as in-home family caregiver realizes that he or she can no longer adequately monitor a loved one. Needs and the additional support CVAS center staff and safety measures provide. Remaining at home is not an option for many individuals with dementia unless there's a CVAS center to promote social, emotional, physical well-being and offer respite for the family. There's further comment here that I won't read. I think these were a combination of comments from the Alzheimer's Association and CADS that went into some specifics in this next paragraph around current state law for secured perimeters and delayed egress devices, emphasizing that there are significant there's significant measures in place to ensure that these technologies are used appropriately to maintain people's safety. And again, to stress the point that we've made over and over again, that even though this is the case, that it's still the state oversight role to determine that they're being used appropriately in whatever centers do use them, and that we made sure that we address this issue, that continuing to look at participant choice and rights and integration in the community to the degree is possible, and their individuals have the ability to have access to the community, that's something the CVAS centers still continue to have responsibilities to meet under the HCB rules. So we've stressed that throughout, in addition to adding all of this language around secure perimeters and delayed egress. Is there another question? All right, scrolling down. So we just put another heading in there, and so we emphasize that in blue to indicate that there will be further stakeholder engagement on the laws, regulations, the policies in the program, and that again, if we find that there are deficiencies, we'll work to resolve those. Scroll down a little further. We changed the date here in the table. We extended the date beyond March 31st, 2016. At a stakeholders request to indicate that there will be a longer time horizon for us to really understand whether there are any shortcomings in our HCB compliance with the rules in our CVAS program requirements. Give ourselves a little bit more time. We've got a lot of deadlines here, so that was a good suggestion. Push it out. Scrolling down. All right, so we have a comment regarding, I believe this is a Justice and Aging comment, that CDA will develop a transparent compliance and monitoring process with input from stakeholders. So we wanted to make sure that that everybody's aware that we're not going to do any of this without input from stakeholders, and that we will be publishing our reports on a flow basis. So right now we don't publish reports on our website. We will be moving to publish our individual center monitoring reports and then provide summaries regarding statewide compliance annually on the CDA website. So again, all of the results of our reviews are transparent to the stakeholder community. Added family caregivers in there again. To emphasize that it's participants, family, and caregivers that are involved in the participant setting assessment. So that's going to be part of what gets incorporated into our initial and ongoing monitoring and compliance. Scrolling down, provider and participant assessment tools. Again, we're emphasizing things that I think that were in the plan before, but we wanted to make sure that we were clear about that we are going to incorporate the provider self-assessment of their compliance at their centers, and the participant setting assessment into our oversight of every single center. So it's all CVAS centers, it's not just a sampling. So we wanted to make sure that that was perfectly clear, and we did get that feedback from our stakeholders. That's all pretty much the same theme there. The addition of the participant setting assessment tool that is understandable to participants. That's going to be developed here in the coming, or it's continuing to be developed. We've got one round of review already done, and we're going to continue to enhance it for CVAS that is understandable to the participants, with a range of cognitive abilities and literacy levels that will ensure that the on-site monitoring process includes meaningful consumer beneficiary participation. Clearly, that's what we want as well, and we clarified that on the suggestion of AARP. Thank you. Provider deficiencies, that's just more language there in blue around this is for initial and continuing compliance beyond 2019. So we've stated that we will be in full compliance by March 17, 2019, as CMS has asked us to, and that the compliance monitoring will be ongoing beyond that. Want to point out that we had under item D, we had the suggestion to extend the deadline beyond this date, but we did not do that. This is for the participant setting assessment tool because all of our other dates are sort of triggered by this date. So we're going to have a participant setting assessment tool in place so that we can begin our cycle of monitoring to these requirements beginning in, I think, it's January or February. So we didn't want to extend that date out any further. So it's a pretty accelerated timeline, but we're going to do our best to meet it. Scrolling down, please. Is everybody still awake? There was a lot of feedback. Okay, keep going. All that in yellow right there. This is person-centered planning. We had received the feedback that we needed to put more information in about person-centered planning. What is it? What are some of the definitions? So we inserted some material, the federal guidance documents that included this material in it, and we also included that reference there down below as a footnote so people can take a look at that if they want more information on that. But that should give you a much better sense of person-centered planning and what it means to the feds who have issued this guidance. Scrolling down. We have some references to review tool. This is a particular document that we use in guiding our transition plan process, and we also put some additional language in there around the appendixes and where to find public comments. These are all sort of technical changes. Scroll down. Okay, right here in this paragraph, to promote for person-centered planning and quality services and outcomes, we inserted that to ensure that everybody knows that this is sort of the platform for what's coming next in our work groups on the revision of the individual plan of care that we use in CBAS and on quality and developing a quality strategy for CBAS, that this is all part of moving the CBAS program in a direction of person-centered planning and ensuring that we're meeting those quality measures. So we wanted to beef up that section a little bit there. Scrolling down to the table, we have a new date there, or we just indicated develop and provide training on implementation of the revised IPC, because the revised IPC is going to be that's the target of the IPC revision group, and once we get that done, we're going to be doing some training. So clearly the IPC form and the process for person-centered planning that is supported by that new IPC, training on that is going to be critical, so we just added that ongoing as needed. Scrolling down, again, bringing the family and caregivers in here. We had some comments asking for clarification on appeal and grievances, so we clarified a few things around the Medi-Cal beneficiary and their rights to filing an appeal or a grievance regarding loss of benefits or denial or reduction of CBAS services, so we clarified that a little bit, and then we clarified that their grievance rights at the CBAS Center or with their plan includes the center's compliance or failure to comply with HCB settings requirements. And then we added some information on CBAS regulatory requirements for grievances and what the providers are responsible for. I can tell you that this is going to be something that we'll be placing on our agenda for increasing our monitoring of. It's the grievance processes that are run out of CBAS centers and that they meet the regulatory requirements, which are pretty tight for grievances filed at the center. Scrolling down a little bit. So that's all new stuff on grievances, and that, again, comes pretty much straight out of our regulatory framework. Scrolling down to section 6, existing monitoring processes. So in this section, in section 3, we have the initial compliance determination, and then this is what's going to be happening on an ongoing basis. And so we talked a little bit here about our existing monitoring. So I want to make sure some people were not clear that didn't think that we were clear in talking about that there was going to be an initial determination of compliance and that the compliance monitoring would be ongoing. So we try to strengthen that a little bit here and address some of the issues with the managed care plans and their responsibility for credentialing and contracting of providers, because we had some requests for strengthening of that language. But we did emphasize that the compliance discussion here focuses on the CDA certification process. Scrolling down, again, inserting the family and caregiver in there, that we need to make sure that we're always getting them into the process as well as needed. Scrolling down, just about at the end, and coming down to the end of the document, we put the deadline in, again, for when the compliance is expected by CMS and that we will meet, and then the punchline of the plan that we received, and this is exact language. The state is committed to ensuring compliance with HCB settings requirements on an ongoing basis, but it should be noted that efforts described in this plan represent significant workload increases for the state, and as expressed in public comments, cost increases to providers associated with complying with new unfunded mandates. So I wanted to make sure that we got that point represented as well. So that's the closure of the plan. And I think that's the end. Can we scroll down just a little bit further? We have, again, those are the new appendices that we added, so we've got those highlighted there. Do we have that timeline and? No. Okay. So we have a timeline and milestones document that's on the website. We won't make you look at it now, but we made a couple of name changes and extended dates out a little bit further. But there's some pretty good graphics that represent all the things that we commit to in this plan, and then I will make a finish for right now that we need everybody's help with as we move into the implementation phase, from the planning phase into the implementation phase, that we're going to continue to need a lot of help from all of you. So that's pretty much the summary.
Well, actually, I think it was great to go through that, and I hope everyone who submitted comments feels that their comments were paid attention to and certainly incorporated into the document at this point. So let's just stop for a minute and see if any of the stakeholders on the telephone have any questions or additional comments at this point. You can type your comment or question into the webinar chat area, and we will read your comment out loud. So anybody have any additional comments or feedback for DHCS and CDA? We'll just give everybody a minute to gather their thoughts. I know Denise did a really good job, but there must be a comment.
I did a good job of describing it, perhaps, but there were many others who did a good job of actually
providing their comments. Yeah, exactly.
Still no comments.
Okay, we're going to continue.
Oh,
good. We got a few comments. See? Great. So Lilith is going to read them out.
So the first one is from Susan with the Alzheimer's Association. I just want to applaud all the staff who assembled all of this information in a short time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments coming in, Susan. They were very helpful.
This one is from Elizabeth Machado. I think that it's important to have free trainings and education available. And then,
thanks, Elizabeth.
We have one from Faye Gordon. No need to read aloud, just one. Oh, I just read it.
A secret message has come in.
I guess I'll just read it. Just wanted to share with the CDA team a thanks for going through all of this and the careful overview of everything. Quite a lot of work. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thanks, Faye.
Can I add something to you, Bobby? In the comment, a lot of people will see there were a number of really nice comments made, and so thanks for those, and including we got a comment in several places from CADS, from Lydia, regarding the different sections of the plan where she didn't have any additional changes or anything, but where she said nice things, including that, that they will partner with us for this training. I don't know that it'll all be free, Liz, but definitely CADS offers some fantastic training opportunities already, and we look forward to and thank them for their commitment to working with us, partnering with us in developing further training, because we have a tall hill to climb here.
Right. Anything else, Willa?
Nothing else.
So just a reminder once more, can't be reminded too many more times, that you can still make public comment on the draft plan, because the CBAS component is part of the statewide transition plan, and the comment period for the statewide transition plan is open until July 31st. So if you go to the DHCS website, this link, you can find instructions on how to submit comments. Your comments are still welcome, and we look forward to having them. So if you haven't had a chance to think about this until today, you've seen the kinds of comments that have been submitted. They're all very thoughtful, and we look forward to additional comments, certainly on the CBAS section of the statewide transition plan. So we're going to, yes, Ed Long, CDA.
And Bobby, the way that the CBAS transition plan is incorporated into the statewide transition plan is as an attachment to that plan, just to remind people. So that's how you should look for it.
Great. So thank you, Ed. That's a really good point to make. You'll see the CBAS plan in its entirety as an attachment to the statewide transition plan. You certainly can review the statewide transition plan as well. We're just focusing on the CBAS section today. Okay, well, we're ready to leave the statewide transition plan now and talk about the CBAS work groups. So are there any other comments so far on the CBAS transition plan?
No comments.
Okay, so having no other comments, we're going to talk about the two CBAS work groups, which are two topics that have been a part of this stakeholder process and the previous 1115 waiver stakeholder process. Two very important issues related to the IPC revisions and to the quality work group. So Denise has had 1 second to catch her breath, so I'm just going to have her just give a quick summary about these two work groups and the kickoff meeting, which will be happening on July 29th.
Yes, so we're excited to finally get this going. We've been talking about it for some time, and now that we're through revising the plan for a little bit, at least extensively, we're gonna focus on our work group efforts in the plan. Section 4 on person-centered planning, we do mention these two work groups, and as Bobby said, we've been talking about them since our 1115 stakeholder process. So the IPC revision work group, these are just the charters for these groups that we've developed so far. We may modify those when we meet and we talk about what we really want to accomplish, but these are the sort of draft charters. So the purpose of the IPC revision work group is going to be to take a look at the IPC and identify revisions that are needed to support the person-centered planning process and the new requirements that we have, to bring the IPC up to date with current program requirements. Many of you know that there's a number of obsolete references in the IPC, and some things that maybe we can trim out. Facilitate information exchange between CBAS providers and managed care plans for treatment, authorization, and service coordination. So issues that cut across the providers' interests and the plan's interests in exchanging information, and increase the capacity for documenting, tracking, measuring beneficiary and clinical data, quality indicators, outcomes, and improve the IPC's design, functionality, and user friendliness. So we're going to take on a lot of things in this discussion, and probably more that people have suggestions for. And then we have a quality work group that the purpose of which is to develop a quality and improvement strategy for CBAS that includes metrics for tracking and improving participant outcomes and the quality of care delivered by CBAS providers. Again, these are the draft charters. When we get together, we may revise them somewhat. We already have a pretty good group of volunteers who stepped up to participate in these work groups across advocacy groups, providers, and managed care plans. If there's anyone else out there that that wants to join these efforts, we certainly are still interested in taking your sign-ups and having you make a commitment to participating in these efforts. So we're going to convene the work group on the 29th. The first work group we're going to do, or the first meeting we're going to do as a kickoff meeting, convening both the work groups, because we're going to focus primarily, I think, on some logistics. So we have it scheduled from 2 to 4. It's going to be nothing in person. It's going to be all done by webinar this first time. And the objectives of this meeting are going to be to take a look at the purpose and expectations for each work group, identify potential overlapping areas of focus for the groups, and strategies to address the overlap. So we know there's overlap between these two work groups. So we need to sort of flesh that out and talk about how we'll work with that overlap. And then determine the best format for the meetings, how we want to proceed, webinar, conference calls, in-person, combination thereof, how frequent we want to meet, etc., and get that schedule set for both groups. So that's sort of the overview of the meeting, and definitely if you go back at one slide. If you still are interested and you haven't given us your name and you want to join this effort, you can call us in the CBAX branch at CDA or send us an email. All the information, our contact information is given in the slides here. So definitely we have a really good set of volunteers for both groups so far. But if anybody else wants to join the effort, these are not going to be sort of statewide meetings. This is going to be a smaller work group, and the expectation is that people who participate will make some kind of a commitment to regular participation and homework in between meetings and actually rolling up their sleeves and doing something. So we look forward to working with. And we'll definitely post that information and make sure that we're transparent about the developments in the work group. But we want a core group of people who are willing to get in and, like I say, roll up their sleeves and do the work. So July 29th, it's coming up finally. We've been talking about it, seems like, for a couple of years now. So excited to be getting started with implementing things.
So again, just a reminder to everyone, if you're interested in being on the work groups, if you can just call CDA or send an email, volunteer, just knowing that there's an expectation that everyone will participate regularly and provide input through this process. And then again, on July 29th from 2 to 4 will be the kickoff meeting. The two work groups will meet jointly for that first meeting. So we're coming to the end of the meeting, and we're going to stop now before we talk about next steps and wrap up this stakeholder process, just to see if there are any public comments. If you have public comments, you're welcome to type in your comments or your question on the chat box of your webinar, and we will take those comments now. If you want to make a verbal comment, if you raise your hand electronically, if you click on the hand, we can open the phone lines and call on you. So anyone wishing to make public comment at this time? No comments yet. We'll just wait a moment. We have a comment? Someone written in a comment or has raised their hand? Okay, we're going to open the phone to hear from Sheila. Yeah, Sheila Lawler from Kaiser. Would you like to make a comment?
No, sorry. I think my hand was up earlier in the meeting.
Oh, Sheila, sorry. Would you like to make a comment now from earlier?
No, it was just about zooming in on the screen, but I figured out how to do it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you again for the comments that Kaiser sent in to the draft plan. Any other public comments? Okay, well then let's review where we are and what's ahead of us. Most importantly, last chance, get those comments in on the statewide transition plan and the CBAS section in particular by July 31st. Go to the DHCS website. You'll find the link in the PowerPoint. If you're interested in joining the IPC work group or the quality work group, please let CDA know that you're interested. And the kickoff meeting for those two work groups jointly will be on July 29th at 2 o'clock. And over the course of the meetings of those two work groups, information will be posted on the CDA website. So if you're not on one of the work groups, you'll certainly be able to be kept apprised of what the discussions are like in those work groups. If you need to get in touch with CDA to give your input or to volunteer, this is how you reach CDA, both through email, through the website, and certainly if you're not on the CBAS updates to get stakeholder notices, the link to that is all provided on this slide here. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on the next steps, other things that are going on beyond the sort of formalizing of the work groups. We will be getting into the deeper work plan that's associated with all those commitments we made, those milestones and timelines. So there will be some pretty fast deadlines that are going to approach around incorporating the provider self-assessment and the participant settings assessment, and then changing our monitoring tools. So those will all be coming up over the next several months. So we're going to be getting into the detail of tasking all those things out and getting a calendar together. So we will continue to keep the CDA CBAS website up for home and community-based settings, and we'll keep posting information and sharing information via the CBAS updates regarding stakeholder participation in those processes too. So there's going to be a number of things that maybe not as formal as some of the meetings that we've been having with your facilitation and everything, but we will be continuing to engage the stakeholders and ask for input in changing processes and meeting some of these other commitments and deadlines. So more to come on the implementation front.
Right. So the implementation piece is the most important piece. It's how to take all of these rules and put them into place in each of the CBAS centers and with the managed care plan. So everyone's involvement will be important in terms of that. So as we wrap up, I want to make a special note to thank the SCAN Foundation for their support of this stakeholder process. A really big shout out, you've heard it earlier from some of the stakeholders, to both DHCS and CDA for all of the preparation and careful review of everyone's input throughout the process and their incorporation of stakeholder comments throughout the stakeholder process. And the biggest thanks to all of you from the CBAS centers, from the advocacy organizations, and other stakeholders who participated. Your dedication to the work and your diligence to attend all of these meetings that we've had and participate in many different ways has been really appreciated and certainly has enhanced the process that we've been involved in. So let me just see if Laura Conley, since Laura's here in the room as the director of CDA, would like to say any final words to the group before we sign off.
Well, Bobby, you had I think the perfect wrap-up in terms of thanking all of you for your participation in this process. Last year when we started the waiver transition or the waiver renewal process, it seemed like an incredibly daunting task, very complex, and I had my doubts. But given how well that process went, and really the successful participation and commitment to that process, when faced with a similarly complex challenge this year, I knew the group could step up to the plate and do it. And thank you, though, because it is has been an ongoing time commitment for many, many of you to provide the participation. I had a chance to review the feedback and comments that came in with Denise and Lynn earlier and kind of review them and think about them and where they should be placed. but really, really appreciate all the time that people took to read and then make comments that are really helpful to us in terms of moving this forward. And just want to give a shout out both to DHCS and to the staff here and Bobby for the commitment and the passion and the good writing, good editing that they all have certainly exhibited, and I think you've certainly seen. I'm very proud of all of them, and thank you for that.
Okay, with that, the meeting is adjourned 45 minutes early, which means everyone now has 45 minutes to review the CVAS plan that's attached to the statewide transition plan. If you haven't read it yet, this is the time to do it. So thank you, everybody, for participating, and we look forward to the next time we can all be together. Thank you.
Thank you.